The Faux Snug Piercings. Or piercing. It's two piercings, so it's piercings. Everything you should know before getting it done. Coming up next on Consultations by a Piercer, episode number 15. So you might want to, stick around. So the piercing we're talking about today is the Faux Snug. It is actually two separate piercings done with labret studs, usually a little bit higher than we would do a snug. With snugs, or depending on your anatomy, with snugs usually they're done where the fold kind of flattens out on the back. Faux snugs are done usually a little bit higher depending on your anatomy, where we have two separate areas to get that angle right. Because what we're trying to do is give you the look of having a snug piercing without giving you a snug piercing with two separate pieces of jewelry. So they need to be angled the way a snug piercing would be angled. Make sense? Hopefully I'll find some photos to put in here because I don't have a photo of the last one I did. And it doesn't look very good on the rubber thing. Average healing time on this is probably pretty much around that 8 to 12 weeks. Sometimes longer. Depends on your health. Depends on how well you heal piercings. Everybody's a little bit different. Sorry. During which you want to clean twice a day using a sterile saline. Personally, I like Nelmed's piercing Aftercare because it comes out in a fine mist, so you just spray it on there. If you have the other kind, which comes out like a squirt gun or a garden hose, you may need to apply that to something else and then apply it to the piercing. When looking for it, if you can't find the Nelmed's piercing Aftercare, things you want to look for. First off, it needs to be in a pressurized can. It should say sterile on the packaging. When you flip it over and look at the ingredients, there should only be two there. Water, purified water usually, and then sodium chloride. Nothing else. No egg whites, no weird chemical names, no tea tree oil, no lavender, no emu extract. None of that stuff. Just saline. So what you're doing with that is you're using it to remove the discharge so it doesn't agitate the piercing when the jewelry moves during the healing process. Of course, you're going to do this on both sides, on both piercings, because there's two of them there. Other thing I always suggest doing is at the end of your shower, pull your hair and everything out of the way and let the water flow over the area. This will not only help to remove that discharge a little bit more, but it also helps to eliminate the possibility of other things collecting on there, like soap, shampoo, conditioner, etc. Cross-contamination prevention. Things, people in your life that were your parents or authority figures should have taught you already. Wash your hands before you handle it. Always handle it by the ends whenever possible. The only time you need to have any contact with this piercing is when you're cleaning it or checking the tightness of the balls if it's threaded jewelry. No oral contact or exchange of bodily fluids on near or around the piercing until it heals. None. Even your own. Don't lick your fingers and try to clean things. That is disgusting, and your saliva is full of bacteria. Keep your environment clean. Clothing, bedding, towels, anything that may come in contact with the piercing needs to be cleaned on a regular basis. Do not submerge piercing in bodies of water you cannot control the quality of, which is everything but your own clean bathtub. I don't care what chemicals are in there. I don't care if you can see your toes when you stand it up to your neck. It has microorganisms in it. They are foreign pathogens to your body. They will cause an infection if they get in the piercing. So no swimming. Sorry. Keep pets away from it, especially small animals that like to sleep up by your face. Do not let them sleep in the bed. They have a tendency to contaminate everything. Avoid contact with unclean objects. Number one culprit with this would be probably telephones. Anything that comes in contact with the area and presses into that area should be avoided. Things like over-the-ear headphones and etc. I don't know, if you wear your hats over your ears. Stocking caps, probably a good one to avoid. Basically, just avoid contact in general. Avoid contact with wet hair. Make sure your hair is dry before it comes in contact with the piercing. Wear it up in a towel or a fun bun. Now it's time to talk about pressure, trauma, and abuse. Abuse. Do not abuse your piercings. They're nice people. They don't like to get pushed around, verbally or otherwise. Be nice to them. The number one way you can be nice to your piercing is don't sleep on it while it's healing. Sleep on your other side or flat on your back, or probably the most common or easy way to do it is to take one of those U-shaped travel pillows, the ones that go around your neck, and then put a clean sock on it every night and sleep with your ear in the center of it. Avoid anything that's tight-fitting or abrasive. Things like helmets, safety gear that covers the ear, over-the-ear headphones. Anything that's going to put a lot of pressure on it is going to cause trauma, and it is going to cause problems. So avoid it while the piercings are healing. As far as like earbuds and stuff like that, depends on the size of them and the size and shape of your ear. If you put them in and you notice they have contact with the piercing, either of them, I wouldn't advise using them while it's healing. It's that simple. Now, jewelry. Usually these are done with flat-back LeBray studs. I guess they could be done with barbells. I don't know why you would, but yeah, it's possible. Either threadless or threaded. The only disadvantage of the threaded is that you do want to check the tightness of the balls on a regular basis, and they're more difficult to change sometimes. The balls tend to unscrew on their own, and they fall off, and you can't find them, or they're really, 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 really difficult to get back on. The jewelry is going to be longer than what you need, so you do need to downsize. I generally suggest doing that in 4 to 6 weeks. The main reasons you want to downsize, it looks better. It usually does. The other reasons are that it's not going to be as long, so it's not sticking out as much, so it's not readily going to get caught on things as easily. Also, it's going to eliminate the possibility of migrating or rejecting. Usually when you leave that longer post jewelry, especially in upper ear cartilage or areas of the body that are in that area, that made no sense, they will migrate out of position. And with a piercing like this, or group of piercings where we definitely want them to line up, going to that shorter post and cutting down the likelihood of that is very important. And I suggest doing it in 4 to 6 weeks. Go see your piercer. Have them do it. Usually they'll charge you they'll give you a discount on the downsized post, or give it to you for free in some cases, and usually don't charge you a buttload of money to change the jewelry, even though I feel like they shouldn't charge you anything. Now let's talk about pain. Quick pain, equivalent probably to upper ear cartilage piercings or helix piercings if you had one. Usually a lot of warmth with these. It does heat up in the area pretty quickly. The thing about it is there's 2 of them, and they're done generally back to back. Jewelry transfer might be a little uncomfortable because you're dealing with working in the back of the ear, so the piercer may have to move or adjust your ear once the piercing's done. Other than that, not something you can't live through. It's probably not going to be nearly as bad as you think it is. Of course, always the second piercing hurts more than the first. Shh. It's one of those things I try to keep a secret when I'm doing multiple piercings on somebody. But as you do additional piercings in one sitting, your body, the nervous system tends to be more on higher alert and gives out more aggressive signals of pain. It's just really common, and it's one of those things that you just have to deal with. It's not really that much of an increase, and you can live through this. Now, this thing's going to be tender to the touch for a while. Not as bad as a snug piercing, but it's important to isolate this. I would say the first couple weeks, just like any helix-style piercing or cartilage piercing, it's going to be tender to the touch, sometimes up to a month or 2. And like a lot of them, it will trick you. It'll be like one day it doesn't hurt at all to touch it, and you're like, oh, now I can sleep on it and play with it. You'll do that, and then the next day it'll be 5 times its normal size and throbbing. Give it time. Full healing period. Avoid contact and give it time. Anatomy. With this one, like I said, they're best if the ear is kind of folded. If you put your finger in the back of your ear and run downward, you'll feel kind of a valley in there. If you have that, it makes getting this piercing done a little bit easier, because that way there's definitely 2 directions we can go easily and fit the jewelry in the back. If it's more flat, It's possible, but the angles are going to be weird, and there might be problems with that disc sticking or digging into the back. I guess this would be a situation where maybe a barbell-style ball in the back might be a better option, but it's going to take up a lot of room. It's going to be very cramped back there. As always, the piercing has to match the shape of your anatomy and your anatomy. It's just a plain fact. You either have it or you don't. There might be a better option for you or a different set of upper ear cartilage piercings that work better with your ear. Listen to your piercer, and it's always a good idea whenever you're doing one of these anatomy needed, you have to have it, piercings, it's best to come in with a plan B or C so that you don't leave without getting a piercing, especially if your heart's set on it. And before I move on to the last couple of things you should consider before you get it done, if you like this, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it, especially if you found it helpful. If you'd like to see more of them, please subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you're notified every single time we post something. Also, check out our merch store and leave comments. We love all that stuff, and I generally try to get to the comments when I have time. Now, what should you consider? Things you should consider. If you're going on vacation or a long trip or you're going to be in the other side of the country for a month, it's usually best to wait until you are back home in your own bed and every night and all that stuff. You are settled. They can be, when you go on vacation or an extended stay, you can't control the environment that you're in. You can't keep it as clean as you can in your own home. Also, you're going to be tempted to swim, and we've already talked about that. No swimming until it's healed. It just increases the likelihood of issues. It's usually best that if you know these things and you have them planned ahead, that you wait until you get back. It's that simple. The piercer's not going anywhere, and unless you're into sword fighting or something where you could lose an ear or plan on removing it for whatever reason, your ear is going to be there to get pierced in the future. Now, another thing I always like to talk about is if you were involved in any type of organized activities that has a uniform or a dress code. This would be any sporting events, dance often, gymnastics, drama, speech, debate, anything where there is a dress code involved, including work. You may want to check with the person that's in charge of making those executive decisions on whether or not you're going to be able to have this piercing and still be involved with it. These piercings are not something you can just take out for a couple hours during the healing process and put back in. They can be difficult to change even after they heal. It is something where you want to leave the jewelry in at all times. So it might be best to wait until you're done with those activities and then get it pierced. Lastly, because I can never stress it enough, isolate and avoid sleeping on the piercing. Plain and simple. Leave it alone. Isolate it. It's the forbidden zone, and you'll have a much happier heal. Speaking of healing, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care. Thank you for watching, and check out one of these other videos.